Hello and welcome to the Grid Legends City Tour. First off is San Francisco GP Circuit, and we start off our journey in the beautiful San Francisco Bay next to the historic ferry building and its clock tower. Then we head toward the Bay Bridge and take a U-turn right before Rincon Park onto a smaller street, which then we follow back to the ferry building, where we take a 90-degree left onto Market Street. Being in the financial district, it's no surprise that after passing the Federal Reserve Bank on our left-hand side, we do a chicane at the Wells Fargo Bank building onto California Street. Then we take a left onto Davis and a right at the Madsen building back onto Market Street. We follow this road until the Mechanics Monument, where we take some turns onto Bush Street, following it all the way to the Rust building, where we take a 90-degree right turn and make our way back to California Street. There we join the tram tracks and turn left. Here we'll experience the iconic steep street San Francisco has to offer while passing the historic Sing Chong building. As we climb the streets leaving Chinatown and entering Nob Hill, we pass the Pacific Union Club's castle-like building, and right after that we take a right turn at Grace Cathedral onto Taylor Street. Now we follow this bit of road until we hit Pacific Avenue, where we rejoin the steep and bumpy road, passing under the Green Dragon Gate, which in reality is at the intersection of Grant Avenue and Bush Street. But nevertheless we're back in Chinatown, where we'll continue forward until we reach Columbus Avenue. There we take a right-hander passing the Sentinel building and making our way to the gigantic Trans-America Pyramid. Then we turn left onto Washington Street and drive back to the Bay Area. In the sprint circuit we do mostly the same, except at the Sentinel building we take Kearny Street, drive under the footbridge of Hilton Hotel, all the way to California Street, where we rejoin the GP route. The short circuit is the same story, except we go 2 blocks further on Montgomery Street all the way to Montgomery Station, passing Wikipedia HQ on the right, hairpin left, and we eventually rejoin Washington Street and the rest of the layouts. And short circuit B is also very similar, with the only exception being that we take a right on Davis Street compared to the left we usually do, and we follow this all the way to Washington Street, where we take a right at the park and return to the Bay. In Chicago, we start off on the bank of the Chicago River in New East Side with a perfect view of the Wrigley Building before we take a left at Columbus Plaza and under the bridge between the towers of the Regency Hotel. Moving on, as we enter the Chicago Loop area, we reach 2 Prudential Plaza, and taking a 90-degree right, we arrive at North Michigan Avenue. Turning left gives us a glimpse of Millennium Park before we take a right at the Chicago Cultural Center, turning onto E. Randolph Street, followed by a hairpin right as we reach Wabash Station. Here we follow the iconic elevated railway to its next stop, turning left on Lake Street in the process. Reaching North State Road, we say goodbye to the railway and make our way back toward the river. Crossing State Street Bridge, we enter River North, passing the staggering Marina City Towers on the left and the Langham Hotel on the right. We leave State Street by turning right on Hubbard, followed by another right into North Wabash Avenue. As we pass the Trump Tower on our left, we cross the second bridge, taking us back to the Jewelers Building, where we turn left and follow the road under 2 Illinois Center, taking a left under North Columbus Drive, and finally popping out onto yet another bridge as we enter Streeterville. Greeting us on the other side is the Riverwalk Hotel on the right and the NBC Tower on the left. Reaching East Grand Avenue, we turn left, going around the St. Grand apartment complex. We turn right onto North St. Clair Street, then immediately go left onto East Ohio Street, then another left onto North Michigan Avenue, where we're greeted by the Old Republic Building and 2 Prudential Plaza in the distance. On our way there, we pass both the Magnificent Mile and the Tribune Towers on the left, as we reach the Wrigley Building and finally crossing the DuSable Bridge, taking us back to the London Guarantee Building and 1 Illinois Center. Here we follow Wacker Drive all the way to the St. Regis Hotel, where we take a hairpin as we complete our lap. In London, we start off on the red road called the Mall, facing Buckingham Palace. Then we turn right onto Marlborough Road past St. James's Palace. We do a little zigzag to reach St. James's Street, where we climb until we reach Piccadilly. Here we turn left and stay on this road for quite a bit, driving past Green Park as we go, only slowing down at the Wellington Arch, where we take a hairpin around the Bomber Command Memorial, across the Commonwealth Memorial Gates, right onto Constitution Hill, which takes us directly to Buckingham Palace, where we take a right between the Golden Gates of the Palace and the Victoria Memorial. only turning left at Birdcage Walk, taking us past the Guards Museum on our right and His Majesty's Treasury on the left, finally arriving at Parliament Square where we catch a glimpse of Big Ben. Here we take a handful of turns around the Churchill statue, passing Westminster Abbey and the Parliament. After that we arrive at Westminster Bridge, where we turn left at the Portcullis House, passing a beautiful sculpture, only slowing down again at Charing Cross Station, where we turn left and make our way to Trafalgar Square, giving us a nice view of the National Gallery. Here we take another left under the Admiralty Arch and back to the Mall and the starting line. The Buckingham Palace view layout starts off similar but goes around the Wellington Arch, showing us the Lanesborough Hotel, the monument at Hyde Park and the Apsley House before returning to Piccadilly. Passing St James's Palace we continue forward, this time catching a glimpse of the Guards Crimean War Memorial as we take a slight ride back to Trafalgar Square. Here we once again go around the roundabout, then at Charing Station we take a sharp right and an immediate left, taking us past the Royal Horse Guards Hotel, where we then take a right at the Ministry of Defence building, taking us to Whitehall when we turn left, passing the Earl Haig and the Women of World War II memorials, reaching Parliament Square where it's the same drive as before until the Treasury, where we take a right onto the Horse Guards Road, passing the Guards Memorial on our left, and finally turning back onto the Mall and the finish line. The Green Park Loop layout also has a new area. As we approach the end of Piccadilly, we go underground, under the Wellington Arch as we pop out at Hyde Park Corner Station. Here we follow Knightsbridge until we reach the French and Kuwait embassies, and we drive right between them doing a hairpin alongside Hyde Park and back behind the Apsley House onto Constitution Hill. Paris starts off with us on the Champs-Élysées, driving towards the Arch of Triumph, where we go around it and drive down one of the many streets, keeping the Eiffel Tower on the horizon. After a couple of blocks, we arrive at a square with the 19th century Asian Treasures Museum, the Cultural Events Center, and George Washington's horseback statue for good measure. After that, we continue down President Wilson Avenue until we reach the museum complex. Here we turn right and take the road all the way to Mexico Square. Here we do a hairpin and once again drive toward the Eiffel Tower. Reaching Trocadero Square, we drive around the roundabout, passing the monument on the right and the aforementioned museum complex on the left. As we drive forward, we take a slight left at the cemetery and make our way down Benjamin Franklin Road all the way to Costa Rica Square, where there is another hairpin and a short drive to the park, where we then take a right and a left. Passing under the two bridges, we arrive to yet another hairpin, where we take a slight right onto an avenue, passing a beautiful building that's not there in real life. Then it's a right turn onto George V Avenue, then finally left back onto Champs-Élysées and the finish line. Cirque de la Seine is very similar until we reach the park after Costa Rica Square. Instead of going to the lower wharf, we continue forward to Iana Bridge and drive towards the Eiffel Tower. Here we turn left, past the Dibley Footbridge on the left and the University campus on the right. As we reach Alma Bridge, we turn left to cross it, but instead of a right like earlier, we turn left on a street with the Museum of Modern Arts on the left and the Fashion Museum on the right as we rejoin the previous layout. And finally in Barcelona, we start in the beautiful Marina with the port office building on our left and the Columbus Monument on the right, followed by the tax administration office on the left and the Royal Shipyard on the right and the lovely building of the castle on the hill in front. Now this is where things get a bit problematic. We take a right, but this road from the shipyard to the Plaza de España is in reality almost 2.5 kilometers or 1.5 miles on its own, making it very obvious that they have shrunken the city a bit to fit the parts they wanted. If I had to guess, it has to do with the track being introduced all the way back in Grid 2 in 2013, and if they made it one-to-one like the others, it would have been almost 10 kilometers long, something they said the Ego engine struggles with to this day. So sadly, other than the recognizable landmarks, it's mostly a guessing game for this one. Anyhow, arriving at Plaza de España, we're greeted by the beautiful monument in the middle, the Valencian Towers on the left and the Barcelona Arena shopping mall on the other side. Going around the roundabout takes us to yet another set of roads that would be close to 4 kilometers or 2.5 miles in real life, close to the length of the entire circuit in-game. Then we arrive at the Sagrada Familia, one of the most beautiful churches in the world, and we take a right turn. Again, in the game it looks like 2 blocks, while in reality it's over 1 kilometer or about half a mile. Then we arrive at the Arch of Triumph, which if you notice every European city had so far. Then we take a slight right in the general direction of the marina, where I just had to estimate the streets since they have shrunken the city. And in terms of layouts, they're all just variations of each other, except for the Torres Valencianas loop, where we start off after the towers facing the Catalan Arts Museum. Then we take 2 right turns and some zigzagging, and then we somehow pop out next to the arena, which in reality is on the opposite side. As for Shanghai, Havana, Dubai and Moscow, they don't have 3D buildings on Google, which would have made both my life more difficult when it comes to identifying a route in a city only by eye, and presenting it to you would have been more flat and boring, pun intended. And as for Miami, even though it does have 3D buildings, I just couldn't find the exact route, and also it's a DLC track in Legends. Plus, this many cities for one video was already challenging enough for me. But hey, if this video does well and there's interest, I may do another Grid Cities tour in the future. Let me know in the comments if that's something that you'd like to see. If you want to browse the custom maps I made for these projects, there's going to be a link in the description. And that's about it for this one. This video was a lot bigger than I expected, so if you enjoyed it, don't forget to press all the buttons below, and I see you next time.